Welcome to Planet People, a podcast that aims to inspire curiosity and cultivate a deeper connection with the natural world. I'm Natalie Jane, a conservation biologist, eco-communicator, and the host of this podcast series. And I am thrilled to be sharing stories with you that highlight the beauty and importance of protecting our planet's wildlife.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Planet People, a podcast that aims to inspire curiosity and a deeper connection with the natural world. We have a fun episode ahead of us talking about another podcast that we're excited about. We are here with Brooke with Rewildology, and she is going to tell us all about her recent journey. I am also here with Natalie, my co-host. Hi, Natalie.
Hey, Coral, and hey, Planet People. We're so excited to be back here with all of you today with a very special guest. As Coral said, we have Brooke with Rewildology joining us today. She's also a conservation biologist turned kind of a wildlife conservation traveler, sharing stories about her ecotourism and guiding us on a new journey in her latest episodes about Patagonia. Welcome to the show, Brooke.
Thank you so much, Natalie and Coral. I'm so excited to chat with both of you today.
We're so excited to have you on to chat about your latest series, Where the Wild Calls, a journey through Patagonia route of parks, where Brooke really takes us on this incredible 8-part journey, showcasing her adventure through the parks. And we're going to break it down today to really get into it and share about the Rewildology show. So thanks for being here, Brooke.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you both.
Well, amazing. I have been listening, and everyone that's listening to us right now, please go and check out Brooke's podcast. You know, you have a lot of episodes with Rewildology, and now you have switched into this new podcast series, Traveling Patagonia, and kind of recounting your adventures there while also sharing very important information. What has that been like transitioning from, you know, your traditional style of podcasting into this new era?
Oh my gosh, so intense. I'm not going to lie. So the first time I dabbled with this style, this like storytelling from the field style, I was encouraged by this phenomenal podcast producer. His name is Joe Armstrong. And he's like, Brooke, you do things that very few people do. You should be taking them with you to the field. And he's like, you should listen to this podcast called Field Trip by the Washington Post. And if anybody is interested in like really good storytelling from the field, this is like cream of the crop. And it's all about national parks. So the host went to, I think it's 5 different national parks and interviewed all these people. And it's just really good storytelling. And I'm like, this is cool. Like, this is really cool. So the first time I tried it was with my Pantanal trip. So with my previous company, I went down to the Pantanal. That's where the famous jaguars are. And I did a 4-part series there talking about my adventures and the conservation issues happening in the area, and meeting these amazing conservationists along the way, studying all kinds of ocelots and the jaguars and a lot of different species there. So, and also with my adventures along the way. And so that was my first dip into this new style. Because previously, if those listening haven't heard the show before, I did about an hour to an hour and a half long, so long form interviews with conservationists all around the world. So over 40 countries, over 200 episodes, just some amazing people, some of the most inspiring people I've ever met in my life. And I just felt like it was time to shake things up. I mean, the podcasting space has changed. The storytelling space has changed. I have changed as a person. And doing something for 4 years, I just thought, let's try something new. And so last year, I had the opportunity to go to Patagonia and see the entire route of parks. So if you haven't heard about the route of parks of Patagonia, it's a 1,700-mile conservation corridor that was originally founded or started, or I guess that's the proper term, by the famous Tompkins, Chris and Doug Tompkins of Tompkins Conservation. You've heard of Patagonia, of course, or Eastbrit, North Face, the founders of and CEOs of those companies. And through their foundation and partnering with the government, they established one of the most incredible conservation corridors on our planet, and it's called the Route of Parks of Patagonia. And so I was originally there for two purposes. I was there, well, I guess three. I was scouting a trip for my previous company. We were starting a puma expedition there, all about pumas. And I'm a big cat fanatic, as if those are, I don't know if you guys have a video, but I have multiple big cats on my wall behind me. I travel the world for big cats. And I was also scouting a trip for Rewildology's first trip. And while I was there, I was going to see all of the Route of Parks and interview people along the way. So it was the most phenomenal trip of my life. And I've been a lot of places now. It was amazing. It was incredible. And I got to see all three major regions of the Route of Parks of Patagonia. And then now I am turning it into an 8-part podcast series where I'm taking you with me. Like, you are getting in the vehicle with me and you're going to these places and learning about them and the phenomenal diversity. Like, that's one thing I couldn't get over, is the diversity of ecosystems in Chile. It's like, it's nothing I've ever experienced in my life. Going through endangered temperate rainforest, down to mountain peaks, seeing glaciers for the first time in my life, going down to the Magellan Strait and all the conservation work happening on the ocean down there. Like, yeah, it was phenomenal. So I guess to answer your first question, like, what has this been like? It's been the scariest, most intimidating, most incredible thing I've tried to date. Like, it's a multi-part thing. So the podcast is just actually one part of this. The whole thing is called Project Patagonia, and there's 3 pillars to it, and podcast is just one of them. So it's listen, experience, and then protect. So listen is the podcast series. Experience is going down to Patagonia with me next April to experience what I did with me. And then protect, where I have partnered with Panthera, where we're going to try to raise, fingers crossed, $20,000 for their Blink Up project for puma coexistence, with Nico, who is the expert guest of episode 2 of the series, and he will also be a featured guest of the trip. So you'll actually get to meet Nico if you come with me. And so that's what I was hoping to do with it, is meet people wherever they're at. Like, do you just want to listen? That is so important. Please learn about this amazing conservation corridor. Do you want to donate, $50 to help puma conservation, not only in Patagonia, but they also are testing this project in Saudi Arabia for leopards, and then also in the United States with mountain lions. Or then if you're really excited, like, let's go. Like, this is the most amazing place I've ever been in my life. Like, let's go. April 2026, So that's what it is. This was like the big dream of Rewildology when I founded it. I just never thought this was actually going to happen. And now it's like the most intimidating thing for anybody who started a business or a nonprofit. It's like, okay, I actually have to like make this work now.
Well, you're doing
Great
it.
job. Yeah, you're doing it.
You're getting it done. And I mean, I've enjoyed listening so far, and I've learned so much already during your episodes, and I know I'm going to learn more as they continue to come out. So yeah, I mean, you sort of answered my next question. This experience, you'll be taking people along essentially what you have already done. Like, will you be kind of walking them through the journey that you've already taken, or will there be like a new element to that as well?
Yeah, so professionally, I work in conservation tourism. So this is actually my career. And so I know this industry very, very well. So the first trip is actually only to the super famous area, because, man, I got to start somewhere. I got to go with the flagship area. So that is the pumas of Torres del Paine, and being in the south. So that's where, if you see pictures of Patagonia, you more than likely see Torres del Paine. And so that is the region that this first trip is exploring. And it's a true conservation adventure trip. So I wanted to marry the two, because I know a ton of conservation trips and I know a ton of adventure trips, but not any that bring the two together. So this one, we go puma tracking. We have a special dinner with Nico. You actually get to meet these researchers who are doing the work on the ground. And then there's a ton of trekking. So we do some of the famous hikes throughout Torres del Paine, and then we're also kayaking to Great Glacier. So kayaking, trekking, puma trekking, trying to go find a whole bunch of wildlife, some guanacos, some really cool birds. For all of us all of us animal geeks out there, we've got to go find some cool wildlife. So I've smashed all of that into a week. So It's really cool. It's a really cool trip. It's like my dream trip. And I'm just like, everybody come with me. This is such a cool trip. Mm-hmm.
Do you have signups so far? Or?
Yeah, I have one person booked so far. So I do have somebody already like, yeah, let's go.
Do you think?
10 maximum. Okay. That's the max. This is another really big thing about my ethos is low impact tourism. Mm-hmm. So I am partnered with a sustainable tourism partner. I actually met my operator through my conservation contacts at Rewild in Chile. And Rewild in Chile is the daughter organization of Tompkins. I interviewed Carolina for my podcast, and her boss is Chris Tompkins, the Chris Tompkins. That's the only, that's her boss. Yeah. And she's like, yeah, you need to talk to Rafa at Birds Chile. I'm like, yes, Carolina, I will talk to Rafa. So Birds Chile is our, the operator that's actually running the trip. So we made it together, and they're the ones that are actually doing the trip.
Yeah. Oh man, it sounds incredible. Super exciting.
Yeah.
What was the highlight of your trip, and did you have a favorite episode that you recorded when you did go to shoot these episodes?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I'm biased because I'm a cat person. So seeing my first puma in the wild was hands down my favorite part. I saw a famous cat. You can even look her up. Her name is Rupestre. So she's a famous cat of Patagonia. And so, because I lived in Colorado for almost a decade, and I would do everything in my power to find a mountain lion, and I never succeeded. So I was like, fine, I will go to the other end of the world to finally see one of these cats. So I did. So it was my 6th big cat. I only have one more to go. Just have snow leopards left. But yeah, so that was probably my favorite episode. But I mean, honestly, it's so hard because in some of the episodes that haven't been released yet, I have never experienced areas like this. So the episode, I'll just tell you guys. The episode that's dropping next was in Pumalín, Douglas Tompkins National Park. And it's in the Valdivian rainforest, which I know that you're listening to that right now, about that ecosystem and what it is. But yeah, it's this super endangered rainforest, and it's a temperate rainforest. And I literally felt like I was in Jurassic Park.
Wow.
Yeah, there were these massive plants where there's this species of rhubarb that was bigger than me, where these leaves were bigger than me. And the trees were almost as big as sequoias. They're not quite as big, but I had never been in anything like that. I've never experienced an ecosystem like that before. Yeah, and just having the privilege of going to a brand new national park that hasn't even been open to the public yet, that was just such a privilege. And just, I felt so honored to be there. And then being on a Zodiac bag and dolphins are playing with our Zodiac and stuff. Yeah, it was just incredible. So
very unique experience for sure.
Yeah. So my bias, I'm leaning towards episode 2, which that one was really fun. And I got to do that interview with Nico in his home in Puerto Natales. So that was just fun, just in his cozy little beautiful home, Patagonian home in this fjord. And I just got to chat with him about, first Andean cats, which I did not expect. That was his first species that he worked on. And then now he is the project coordinator for the Puma coexistence program at Panthera. So that was probably my favorite, but all of it was so good. It was all so good.
What I found interesting about that episode is learning that there's all of these protections laid out for pumas, but not in Argentina. So it's they have these protections here in Chile, but then they don't have it in Argentina.
Yeah, and very exciting news, actually. Nico just told me that just changed, that they just became a protected species.
That's incredible.
I haven't had the opportunity to dig a little deeper on what that means, how protected are they? And I think that one of the things to keep in mind with this is the scale of these ranches we are talking about ranches that are bigger than national parks, like 100,000 hectares, like that is mind-blowingly huge. And that could be owned by one estancia. And so regulating these things can be very difficult from a government standpoint, but at least now there are rules. So, because that was one of the big things that Nico talked about, that I will be releasing the full interview in the future. That what he said is like Torres del Paine is like a source population of pumas, and then they distribute naturally, of course, and they just go a few kilometers away. Like the border of Argentina is like, I saw the borderline. Oh, like there's my hotel right here, and there's a random just gate on the road that goes beep beep, and it's Argentina. It's like right there.
Yeah.
And so, and of course, cats don't know boundaries, and so the moment they walk,
I don't know what country
over there. No, they're just like, I'm in my habitat.
Yeah.
So the moment they went into Argentina, then they were liable to be shot. Yeah, because the rule at that time was one puma per hunter per week was allowed to be taken. And so again, I like Nico just told me this. We're on Instagram all the time. And we are planning this fundraiser together. So we're DMing a lot. But he just told me that exciting news. So I do need to do more research on what exactly that means. And is it already in place? All those follow-up things that we need to do. But yeah, so
at least some good news in for that regard. Like that's.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So that was a relief to me. We need our pumas. They are the apex predator of that ecosystem down there. There aren't jaguars. Well, Rewilding Argentina is working on bringing jaguars back, but they're not that far south. And there are no wolves or canines. So that is also why you can see these cats, because they are the apex predator. They're not skittish like they are in the north, because in the north, there's much bigger things that are coming to get them, but they don't have that competition in the south. South. All the way south. I gotta be more specific. That far down. They are the top of the food chain.
Yeah. So could you give our listeners like a quick breakdown of, each episode you're releasing? Like the first one is just this overview of your trip. And then the second one, you got to speak with Nico and talked about pumas. But just for our listeners to get a taste of what they can expect when they go to your page.
Yeah. So, so the first episode is like, what is the root of parks of Patagonia? Like, and it lays all the facts, all the history. Where is Chile? What is the Andes? So as the first episode is just very informative. It is like, establishing a baseline of knowledge so that you can understand the next 7 episodes that we're going to be going through. And so then episode 2 is the first one from the field, and that is the Puma coexistence episode. Also went to a estancia that is like the prime example of being a working estancia while also having wildlife on your property at the same time. And I went there. So it was really cool. And oh my God, the Cussy sours. If you could ever have a chance to order a pisco sour, like just do it. You will not regret it. And I had every single type of pisco sour while I was there. I was like, I gotta try yours and yours and yours and yours. But yeah, that's beside the point. That's like the adventure travel part. And then episode 3, I went all the way down to the tippy bottom of the Americas and explored Punta Arenas. And that is where I went to the Cape Forward National Park that is currently being born right now with Rewilding Chile and Tompkins Conservation. So they are, when I was there, they had just purchased the second big swath of land. So the whole goal is for it to be 250,000 hectares is like the big goal for that entire area. And what's really important about that ecosystem, it's the last distribution of the walmul, which is the endangered deer species there. And it's this rainforest, this forest ecosystem that's not anywhere else in the root of parks. And then their big goal is to start working on marine protected areas. There's amazing kelp forests there that they're trying to get protected, but they're running into some issues with like salmon industry, just common things that happen when you're trying to protect land. So I go into it a lot in that episode. Then episode 4, that's the one that just dropped as the time that we are recording this. That one is about the wetlands of the North. So the very beginning of the Root of Parks of Patagonia, starts in Potavares, Potamont, that area in the far north, and that is the temperate rainforest area. And there, I got to interview Legado Chile, Fundación Legado Chile, and they are working to protect the Mollin River Basin and the endangered Woyin. That's a lot of words that sound a lot like in Yanquiwe. And they are working on like human disturbed areas. So trying to bring back these endangered species while working with people. So that's one thing I love about this episode is because you don't really get that in the other ones. But they are working in a human-dominated landscape, and they're trying to bring back these endangered species in an endangered ecosystem. So I love that episode. So that one's really cool, and that was a drastic change from where I was in the South. And then the one coming up is more of an adventure trip. So the one coming up is in Pumalín, the famous Pumalín Douglas Tompkins National Park, and that one is exploring the park and the Chaitan volcano, and seeing these big Alarisay trees. So that one's exciting. Episode 6 is actually going to Patagonia National Park. So the story behind this one is really, really, really cool. It was a former estancia that was purchased by Chris and Doug Tompkins and then was turned into a national park. So it's like an amazing rewilding story. And then while I was there, I got to interview and meet Alejandra, who runs the Darwin's Rhea breeding center there. So Rheas, they're kind of like, you think of like a mini ostrich or something like that. So they're these flightless birds, and they are very important on the steppe, kind of filling a similar role to like a mid herbivore kind of. It's kind of like the niche that they fit. So they're really important. They're also important prey species and everything, but their numbers have completely crashed. So I got to visit the breeding center and interview Alejandra, which was really cool. So that is episode 6. And then episode 7, I got to sit down with a glaciologist and talk about the glaciers of Patagonia. I didn't get to interview her in the field, but I did see a lot of glaciers. And so through wizardry and contacts, I was able to sit down with her, and she's like one of the most beautiful humans I've ever met in my life. And like, she just is now going back to Patagonia to study her glaciers. She was in Switzerland for the past 5 years. And so I'm like, girl, when I come back, I got to meet you because you are amazing. She does glacier treks. So wow. This might be a plan, like I was planting the seed for a future trip. Like, she's a guide where you can like go with her to like trek across glaciers. And that sounds so incredible. And where she's going is in the Aysén region, which is the same area that episode 6 is in, which is the Patagonia National Park area. Yeah. So she's going to be there. And I need to be there. So that's episode 7. And then episode 8 is going to be like a wrap up. So it's going to be like let's tie this thing in a big, beautiful bow. And like, what did we learn? What were the main takeaways? Those kinds of things. So, yeah, that's the series. That is Where the Wild Calls.
What an amazing journey.
Yeah, grand adventure indeed. And I was telling Natalie on the phone yesterday after listening to a few, and I'm just impressed that, and I know that you do this for a living too, but I'm impressed that you are going to these places for your own interest, but having this ecotourism mentality. And not only are you doing this in an eco-friendly way when you're going to these places and respecting these people and respecting these lands, but you're also creating something that other people can listen to and experience for themselves in their own way. And so you're kind of taking a piece of it with you in a very admirable way, instead of going to these places, leaving a trace of some sort or taking something. It's so easy to want to take a souvenir or,
Well, you're instead of leaving an impact and a trace, you're bringing something with you so others can learn and follow in your footsteps, quite literally, in a year from now, which is amazing. But yeah, I agree with what Coral said, not leaving a trace. That's exactly what came to my mind. Like, right before those words came out of your mouth, I was thinking the same thing. So it's definitely impressive, and what an exciting trip. What are the main takeaways from those 8 episodes that you would want your listeners to kind of, just learn from the episode? You mentioned in episode 8, you were kind of wrapping up all the different pieces. So what do you want your listeners to leave with after they finish all 8 episodes?
I think some of the biggest things that I want them to take away with is that no matter where you're at in the spectrum of your ability to contribute to conservation, it's all valuable. So that is why there's 3 pillars of Project Patagonia. And the first one is listen. And just by engaging with, your podcast, with, this series, and taking the time to learn about these issues, you're already making a huge step and being able to contribute to conservation in your way. Because you might be able to have a conversation, or maybe it's going to, trigger a thought that you hadn't had before. And then you're going to do some research and learn about this stuff. And then just knowledge is so powerful. Knowledge is so powerful. There's few things that are more powerful than being knowledgeable in something. So that is one of the big things, is just participating in this in any way, just listening, you're already contributing to the positive outcome, that what we want. And I think the second one is that there are some amazing stories happening in conservation. I know from firsthand of how bleak everything looks right now. But one thing that I have been adamant on is finding the light in the dark, finding these stories, finding the people who are dedicating their life to making sure that we still have a green and blue planet. And that no matter what trials and tribulations they go through, they are waking up every single day to make the world better. And so, oh my God, sorry, I get a little emotional when I talk about that, because it's just such an important thing, So, and then one of the big things too is just to understand how amazing this ecosystem is, and that what Chile has created. That so this place is so freaking cool that I started calling it the "Oh my God, is this real?" expedition, because I said that so many times. There's so many clips of me on camera going, "Oh my God, is this real?" Because it is that stunning of a place. I can't believe we live on a planet that there is a 1,700-mile corridor that is that freaking beautiful. How is this possible? I don't know. And so that's why everybody needs to go and experience this. And nobody knows about it. I mean, because even the part of my trip that we go to, that's the famous part. But that's only this big. That's going to Yosemite, but not seeing any of the rest of California. That's not going to see the sequoias. That's not going to see San Diego. It's literally just one little thing. So just to understand the scale and the vision of the Tompkins, and what they were able to do for Chile, and honestly, all of us around the world, from carbon sequestration that they're doing through these protected habitats. They overcame all kinds of, in the 90s, it sounded really, really rough when they started buying this land and trying to get through all the political stuff to make this vision come true of these rooted parks, Patagonia. So I think that's some of my biggest takeaways, that no matter where you're at, you're doing good. You're listening to this podcast. If you listen to Rewildology, fantastic. If you want to donate to Project Patagonia and help us raise money for Blinka A, amazing. Pumas and big cats, they need all the coexistence they can get, and the ranchers that they, live beside. So I think those are the biggest takeaways. Just come on the journey in any way that you want to. Everybody's welcome. Everybody's welcome, no matter where you're at.
If that's not true to the Planet People mission here, then I don't know what is. I mean, inspiring stories, bringing people along, really highlighting all of these efforts that you're doing as a planet person and as a rewildologist. I mean, when I first found your podcast, I hadn't really heard about that term rewildology. And I guess it's kind of comparable to restoration in terms of restoring a habitat. And here you can restore the landscape with more wild animals and just preserve and understand what is already wild about the parks of Patagonia route, right? And I think you do such a great job of sharing all of that in your show, and it's just so exciting.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a fun journey. It's been a long, fun journey, about 4.5 years now. So, and here we are. Crazy.
One of my biggest takeaways just from this conversation is that it's being used as a wonderful example of conservation. And then to see it even happening here in California with the mountain lions, like, let's just keep this example and this rollout happening for these corridors, because it's so incredibly important especially during this time in America. When it does feel bleak, but here we are, and to have these examples to look to, there's hope there.
Absolutely. Could not agree more.
Together we can, together we will, as Jane Goodall says in her hopeful words of inspiration. I think that's, you have to have hope, and your show gives me hope, Brooke.
Oh, good. And as the tagline of the show is "Together we'll rewild the planet." Like, it's together. It's all of us. That's the show. Together we will turn this planet around to what it can be. Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Brooke, for taking the time to talk to us about your show. And if you're listening to this, please go listen to Brooke's podcast and follow her journey in Patagonia, and maybe even take a journey yourself to Patagonia with her in April of 2026.
Yes. And thank you both, Natalie and Coral, for reaching out and being supporters of Rewildology. You're doing a beautiful, amazing work too. So I'm so glad that we are connected now. And I'm very grateful for chatting with both of you. I know awesome things are going to happen in the future too with all of us. So thank you. I'm so appreciative.
Thank you. We're just as appreciative, Brooke. Can't wait to hear the rest of your show.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Planet People. We are thrilled to have you as part of our community of wildlifers who care about protecting the planet for future generations to enjoy. We hope that by listening to this podcast, you'll be inspired to connect with nature and become a steward of the planet by getting involved and taking action with your local community conservation organization. Until next time, stay positive, Planet People. Thank you to my team here at Planet People. This episode was produced by Natalie Jane Sybil, Coral Carson, and Hugh Carr. Edited by Coral Carson. Theme song by Hugh Carr under the artist name Flama. Thank you, team.